Hey everyone, welcome back to CyberBee. This is the channel where I share what I learn in cybersecurity as I go. And today I want to talk a bit about the job search process. So, good news, I recently concluded my job hunt. And in the spirit of transparency and no gatekeeping, I just want to break down what the process has been like for me. And here's the timeline. In October 2024, I graduated from my cybersecurity diploma program. In December 2024, the whole entire month, I didn't do any job searching because I was actually out of the country. It's also not a great time for people to be booking interviews or posting roles anyways because of the holidays. And then by end of February, early March, I had a few offers to choose from. Very lucky. Okay, so let's talk a bit about my background first before we dive into the whole entire process. So I actually come from HR and business operations. I've had the good fortune to be on both sides of the coin, both sides of the equation as somebody who is looking to hire and also as a job seeker. So I think that gives me a really unique perspective into what people look for, what hiring managers look for, how HR works, and things like that. I don't know everything, but I do know some things. So yes, I think my background is an advantage, and no, because things change. Okay, so let's talk about the job search. So I think job search isn't just applying, interview, and then getting hired. It is a full process. And for me, it felt like there were 5 distinct stages. So stage 1, finding and applying for jobs. This is where we'd focus on looking for opportunities, networking, and applying directly. Stage 2 is interview. This is everything from your initial HR screening interview to your meeting with your hiring manager, technical interviews, case studies, panels, final interviews, so on and so forth. 3 is the checks. So this is your background check or your reference checks. 4th stage is the job offer. This is all about evaluating and negotiating a better offer. And then the final stage is once you sign, leading up to day 1 and beyond. This is all about preparing for that first day, that first week, that first 30 days, that first 90 days, and making a really good impression. So in some organizations, stage 3 and 4 might reverse. So after the interview, they might give you the offer first, which is what I prefer, and then they'll start checking you before day 1. And I think the biggest lesson here for me has been, getting to the offer stage. I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, that's when, I've crossed the line, I'm done, checked everything off. It's actually not. That is probably just 70 to 80% of the entire process. It is not the end. And at some companies, I found that the offer stage was really just 50% of the entire process. And at any point in time, even before you sign, even after you sign, either party can still end the process. So nothing's really guaranteed until, well, ever. So what did it look like for me? So I applied to about 100 applications. I ended up getting not 10 interviews, but 10 companies to interview with. And these are usually anywhere from 1 to 4 rounds of interviews. And then I ended up with 3 offers. Super lucky, very fortunate. Okay, so what does that look like in terms of stats? Well, from 100 applications to interviewing with 10 companies, that's about 10%. I think that's average, maybe on the low side. So when this rate is pretty low, then you know that it's a resume and cover letter issue, because that's what your application is supposed to do, get you that interview, not get you the job. And then the interviews, based on how you perform, will get you that job. And so for me, interviewing with 10 companies and getting 3 offers, that's a 30% rate. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. Now let's talk about where I actually found the jobs. Okay, so when I started looking, I was mostly on LinkedIn, just like everyone else. And I think there's good reason for that. One, this is where most reputable companies who can afford to post on LinkedIn goes. So, that's kind of initially screened out for you. There shouldn't be a lot of ghost postings here, but sometimes there are because companies can afford to do that. But most of the time, these are real companies having real open positions, right? Now, just a note on here, sometimes you see those, let me try to find you one. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, here. Okay. There's the easy apply button. I never do that. So I mostly use LinkedIn as a way to just find the opportunities. And then I would go on the actual company's website to submit an application. Because these easy applies, it's so easy that everyone else does it. And what you want to do is stand out to get noticed. So if I were to do this next time, I would definitely continue to apply on the company's website instead. A secondary place that I hung out was, oops, Indeed. Indeed. Just to see if I missed anything from LinkedIn. So, for example, maybe the smaller or mid-sized organizations, they want to post on these less expensive job boards instead. So just for like a comparison, I also reached out to a few recruitment agencies that's quite well known, like the bigger ones that specialize in tech in my local area. That didn't work for me. None of them reached out to me, even though they had open roles. And that makes sense because from what I know back in my HR days, typically, if you're looking for early stage or like junior level positions and you have an in-house HR, that is their job. But if you're looking for more specialized or mid to senior type of a level, if you don't have that specialized knowledge or skill or time to do it, then that's usually when companies would outsource it. So um, yeah, I wouldn't say I wasted time. I mean, I would still send an application to them because you never know what's going to happen, especially if you are a career changer because you have work experience already that could really fit what their client is looking for in the cybersecurity aspect, right? So maybe so for example, for me, with my HR background, I did a lot of governance, risk management, compliance work, did a lot of training. Had a lot of stakeholder engagement, project management, like all the works. And that is the reason why I got a few job offers. So if I were to do this again, I would definitely still stick to using LinkedIn, Indeed, and probably other job boards as well to round out my search. And I will continue to apply on their company website. However, I will spend more time networking instead. So I think everyone's heard this before. It is so important to network. It's so important to get to know the local leaders in your community and to go to events and to show up and just move and shake with other people. It's so important to do that. And it absolutely does help you in your job search. Maybe not right away because you don't want to be making relationships for the sake of getting a job off of them. But over time, it definitely does work. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so networking is not just collecting connections, it's about being present and engaged. So the more effort you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And I think that applies for like everything. So here are some things that I did do, but not extensively. But if my job search went on for longer, I definitely would just jump in with both feet. Okay, so there are a lot of Discord channels, Slack groups, and stuff like that that you can join. Find the ones local and relevant to you and join them. This is about networking, not about getting jobs, okay? So here are some of the ones that I've joined. Hive Mind, this is by Cyber Maddie, who's also a YouTuber. I'm in my school's alum network, of course. I'm in the Let's Defend. I'm not very active in any of these, but I like to be a part of them just in case something happens, right? And most of them have these job posting or opportunities channels that you can look through. I would say most of them are not very active. See, look at this one, it's back in 2022. But you want to be a part of it just in case it does help you, right? This is like a Vancouver Google developer community one that I'm in. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not very active. This is the Unix guy. I'm also part of Dion's training and Professor Messers. I was in this one almost probably every couple of days while I was studying for the Sec Plus. So there you go. If my job search was extended, or you know what, I should probably do this even though I do have a job, is, get to know the people in the community. It doesn't matter if you're in different countries or in different cities, you can still learn a lot from each other, right? The next one is in-person events or virtual events. I found DevCon group in Vancouver. There's also OWASP Vancouver chapter. There is a bunch of different reputable professional associations that put on events as well. Go to those. I've been to a few, and you definitely network. You definitely get to meet new people. You add them on LinkedIn and you can continue a conversation with them on there. and then you'll see them on the next event. So the more you go, the less nerve-wracking it will be because you'll start to recognize a lot more faces. Okay. There's also virtual or in-person career fairs. I find these mostly on Eventbrite. They're usually free for job seekers, and depending on the field that you're in, I find them to be quite general sometimes. You can spot some tech-related ones, um, but in my city, that's kind of few and far between. I did end up going to one, and it was a tech related one, and it was quite helpful because I learned about things that I didn't know about. Okay, and here are some of the local community groups that I'm part of. There's ISACA. I'm a member. I made sure to take advantage of my student status and get a student membership before I graduated. And currently I'm in their mentorship program, which is as a mentee, and that's been really good. And I do plan on volunteering with the local chapter. Here is owasp.org. This is, so for every major city there, they have their chapters. As you can see, it's like it spans different continents. So if we look at North America, 70, oh, Asia's got 99, it's crazy. 73, so it's all over in Canada. And then I'm also part of Women in Cybersecurity. I think it's called WISES. And I also took advantage of my student status to get a membership with them before I graduated. What I've noticed so far is because it was fall and winter time, none of these have been very active until recently. It's still very much cold and rainy and windy out, but they're starting to have a few events here and there, and I suspect them to have more and more when the weather is a lot nicer as well. So these are definitely worth going to. So I think by volunteering in these organizations, that's something that you could put on your resume, and then you can also network with other industry leaders. So I went to 2 in-person networking events just 2 weeks ago after a long time of not going. So I definitely had some social anxiety. And here's what I noticed. So if I bring a friend with me, I'm less overwhelmed, I'm less nervous. But you need to make sure that it's the right friend and that you guys are not going to cling on to each other the whole entire time, because that defeats the purpose, right? You're there to meet other people. I also felt like if you wear a bright color, because I had this beautiful kind of like magenta fusion scarf with me, and I got a lot of compliments. And that was a really easy way to break the ice and continue that conversation. So I'm going to keep that in mind for next time. And this is just me personally. I usually go to these events to eat and to meet people, but like my like if you're gonna have a good spread, like I'm there. And so I always found that if I stayed close to where the food is, people will come to you instead of you having to go up to people. So, and then lastly, I want to talk a bit about networking on LinkedIn. This I again started to do but didn't do too much of. So if I were to go back and do this again, or if my job search process has extended, I definitely do all these. Like I'd be really gung ho about that. So not only just sending people like requests to connect, but starting a conversation with them and keeping that going. So that is like commenting on their post, engaging with them in some way, reaching out with thoughtful messages. Again, I didn't do too much of this, so I can't really speak from firsthand experience. However, I want to introduce you to Jeff Su. He is a Chinese American Googler that works in Beijing, and he talks about career tips and also productivity advice at work. And so I think all the videos that he's done is super top notch. Like I love all of his content, and he talks a lot about resumes, cover letters, interviews, how to network and stuff like that. And there's one video here that I watched that I thought was really good, and he talks about how to connect like a pro on LinkedIn. And I also want to introduce you to JT O'Donnell from Work It Daily. She is this like 20 or 30-year veteran in being a recruiter and finding people jobs, and she goes live on her channel a couple times a week. She has really good advice. Even for me, somebody who has some HR experience, I actually joined her program. I don't know where it is. It's probably here, Work at Daily Pricing. She has a free trial for it's like 7 or 14 days or something like that, and it gives you access to the whole entire thing. You also can pick the premium plan, so you can talk to her or one of her recruiters one-on-one. Like you can send them the resume, send them your resume, they'll give you feedback on it, and so on and so forth. So I thought she was quite good because she does go on live, and you can, like, you see this, it's streamed, right? She goes live on YouTube, and you can actually, talk to her and ask her your questions directly and have them answered. So I really appreciate that free service that she's giving. I really like the fact that she's not just the face of it, she's actually in there with her, sleeves rolled up and really wanting to help people land their dream job. So yeah, definitely kudos to her. There are other people that I watched on YouTube as well, but I would say these top two, so JT O'Donnell from Work It Daily and Jeff Sue, has been the ones that gave me the most value and the most insight. Okay, so looking back, what would I do differently if I were to do this over again, or if, when I get back on the job search again? So I would still use LinkedIn, occasionally on Indeed, but I would apply directly on the company's website. I would still reach out to recruiters, especially next time I'd be a little bit more senior. So I probably would match their mid-level jobs. I would put a lot more time into networking, which is what I will do once I get settled. I plan to, and I will, volunteer for local professional associations to get more involved in the community. And lastly, I will attend more in-person events. And now we covered stage 1, apply, and where to find jobs. In the next video, it'll be a continuation on stage 1, how to apply, but focusing on how to approach cover letters and using AI to help you, and also researching companies. And that's it for now. Stay curious and see you in the next video.